Kakadosh Boker or Bekiim Malacha 3, day 76, page 162, Siman 16. Okay, we are on Halacha Bet. Okay, yesterday we were speaking about the entire concept of the shiurim, the sizes of the talit, and today we're going to continue with Halacha Bet. Shiur, shiur zeh. Shel talit katan. This shiur of the talit katan, milvad nekev shel bet hatzavar, is without the nekev of the bet hatzavar. Klomar, which means to say shetzirich sheyeh shiur talit amma milifanav amma milacharav milvad nekev. Lechatzi amma mikol tzaberocha v'talit shal kol katef, which means that this basically you're taking out the whole. One more time, you have a talit, yeah? So when you have the talit, you have the front part and the back part, but now you have the hole in the middle. So you need that you're going to have an amma on each side without the hole. So remove the hole, right? And that's what you're doing. Right? And you still need that you're going to have 48 centimeters in the front and 48 centimeters in the back. That's without the hole, meaning that you cut out the hole. Plus, you're going to have 48 centimeters from one side to the other, from here, from one shoulder to the other shoulder, without the hole as well. Let's see 220. The Mishabra and other Achronim cited Rav Zalman's prayer book, ruling that a talit katan must be at least 2 amot, not counting the opening through which the wearer's head protrudes. That is, that it must be at least 1 cubit in front and 1 cubit in the back. The Rishon LeZion concurred with this, so he agreed with this. Okay? A talit katan's width. The Maharil, he ruled that the shoulder of a talit katan must be wide. If the empty space is greater than the shoulder's width, so then they will not count at all. At the first reading, it implies that the total width of the two shoulders must be greater than the width of the opening. The Machzida Shekel and Petach David, however, explained that it means simply that the shoulders must be wide enough so that the entire talit is considered one garment, not two pieces connected by 2 shoulder straps. So therefore, according to this interpretation, the Kaf HaChaim Sofer suggested that it should be sufficient if each shoulder is 3 finger breadths, since the minimum is the minimum of the size of the garment. The Chazon Ish interpreted the Maharil's words according to the simple meaning, and therefore his instructions are that considering that a cubit is 60 centimeters, remember, we always say that an amma is 48 centimeters. That is Rav Chaim Naeh. The Chazon Ish holds that each one is going to be 60 centimeters. So he says, according to this, right, the opening must be no more than 18 centimeters wide. So each shoulder would be at least 21 centimeters wide. So according to this, it comes out that a cubit is 48 centimeters. And so the opening must not be wider than 14 centimeters so that each one will be 17 centimeters wide. Okay, meaning if we're going according to the one of 48, you don't need the 21, you need 17. Okay, the Rishon LeZion did not elaborate. And it appears from his words that the 2 shoulders must be equal, right? The 48 centimeters besides the width of the opening. If this is what he means, so it's a stringency uncharacteristic of his rulings. Even though Mishabra ruled stringently, right, that the opening cannot be counted towards the length of the talit, ruled quite leniently regarding its width, and each shoulder can be narrow as 3 finger breadths, right? The Chazon Ish ruled, right? He says that the shoulders must be wider, but he agreed the opening does count as part of the width. So basically, this we've got a few different machlokot. Machloket number 1, does the hole count for the width, not for the length, right, but for the width? And number 2, how wide does the shoulders have to be? Because if not, then it's considered kilu that the shoulders are just connected right by the middle, but really it's like 2 shoulder things, but the middle is the ikar. So therefore, according to the Rishon LeZion, it meant only the 2 shoulders together with the opening must be a nama. A careful reading of his words will reveal that although he said the opening cannot count as part of the length, he did not say that it cannot count as part of the width. That means, one more time, you've got the middle. The middle is the opening. You have a problem here. Does that opening count? Now, there's a problem. There's 2 ways to count. Count forwards and backwards, which means the length. And then you have the width from right to left. So therefore, for sure, they said that it does not count for the length, which means when you're coming and you're saying that you need an amma, so you're counting from the hole, right, which is the opening, downwards. If you have from the hole downwards 48 centimeters, you're okay. And from the hole backwards 48 centimeters, you're going to be okay. Because that's amma lama. Perfect. Without the hole. What about from right to left? So at the beginning, you want to say maybe the Rishon LeZion ruled stringently that you also need an amma without the hole. But then afterwards, he retracted. And he said, no, really, Be'emet, the Rav Ovadia holds, it's even with the hole. So therefore, as long as from here to here, you have 48 centimeters, it's going to be okay. What about the slit extending the opening? Many times you have an opening. So sometimes you have like the round opening. Sometimes you have the other opening, which is there's a little slit here going down. And then here it folds, right? So in such a case, what about that? The average woolen tili katan manufactured today as an oblong opening for the head extended by a slit on the front side to make it easier to put it on. It is likely that the slit open section counts towards the length of the garment, since none of the material is missing along the section. It is only slit in half. Okay, he says, indeed, this is the ruling of the Eshel of Rambot and the Biskei Teshuvot. This is likewise implied by the words of Zaman in the Breyer book. And unless the Chazon Ish wanted to say that no. Right? Everyone understood meaning like this. How is this slit? This slit, the way that it is usually that you have a slit, and here it's folded. Now, when it's folded, if you close it, right? If you come and you close it, what happens? You actually close, it's all there. It's just open. It's just like slit open, but it's there. It's not missing anything in the material. Exactly, right? There, you just close it. So once it's closed, it's 100% there. It's not missing anything. So therefore, there it does count. Right, that's what we wanted to say. Whether it's good, but the Chazon Ish wanted to say that no. Right, he said he had a button and a buttonhole, and on the top of it, in order to like close it. No, you would have to put a button and close it. Kilu. That means you put it on when it's open, then you close it, and now it's closed. Right, but according to the rest, you don't have to do that. Okay, fine. Siman Yud Zayin. Okay, Siman Yud Zayin. Miyem chayavim betzitzit. Who's chayav in tzitzit? Ken, ata shomea. Suma chayav betzitzit. A blind person is chayav betzitzit. He's allowed even to make a bracha on the tzitzit, right? Because whenever we have a minhag, we don't say tzaveh bracha la'akel. So 222. The pasuk says in the Torah, right, that the nighttime wear is exempt from the mitzvah tzitzit, but it says uritemoto, you have to see it. It then challenges it, but it says that it's possible to say that the pasuk is meaning that maybe it's coming to exclude a suma, a blind person. The Gemara then claims that a blind person cannot be exempted because it already says that he's covering you, and this covers you. At the end of the day, it covers the person. Therefore, the former pasuk is not excluding, right, a suma, it's excluding the nighttime garments. But the Gemara counters it, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's excluding the blind person and including the nighttime garments. In the conclusion, it makes more sense to include a blind man since other people can see the blind man's clothing. Maran and the B'Tosef pointed out that the pasuk, which is a shetech haseba, is needed to include garments with 5 or more corners, as explained from the term asher, which means with which, and therefore obviously it's going to be you're covering yourself. 223. Okay, the response of Lev Chaim Falache, right? He comes and he brings down the Rav Sheshna Gaon. He ruled that a blind man or blind men are exempt from the mitzvah tzitzit, and based on this, he says that although we follow the ruling of Maran, the blind men are obligated. He said they should not make the bracha. Meaning, if they hold that he's patur, so obviously don't make a bracha. Nevertheless, the Rav Palim and the Ben Ishchai prove beyond the shadow of the doubt that the common custom is that a person does make the bracha, overriding the principle of the Safek Berachol Aker. Chaim Falache also subscribes to this rule, as brought down the Moed al-Chochai, the Kafachim Sofer, and the Yabia Omer. They all agree to this as well. And the Severim Kamsiel Rav Yosef Chaim also offered another reason for permitting a blind man to say the bracha. If we were always going to stop him from doing a bracha, so he says we would hardly ever be able to say a bracha on the mitzvah we perform. Because in every single situation regarding mitzvah, there's always a disagreement in poskim. So, for example, we follow the halacha that if someone forgets, right, and he uses the expression of Ha'ela Kadosh instead of a Melech HaKadosh during the Aseret Tshuva, the Amidah should be repeated. Even this halacha is not accepted according to everybody. In this case as well, since the mainstream of the people agree, so we go by the majority. We're not going to get, meaning there's always going to be one person that's going to pass in one way or the other. So because of that, right, it's not going to happen. Now, are they obligated to now come and listen to somebody else? So the Ben Ishchai added that we cannot expect a blind man to find somebody else to make a bracha because he can't even see. So even if we would allow this, it doesn't work. And the Kamitzeli says, however, he did recommend that he should find somebody else to make the bracha for him. What about examining the tzitzit? 1 second, a blind person cannot see the tzitzit. So how does he make a bracha? So he says the Mishnah Berurah the Kavachim Sover recommended that a blind man examines it with his fingers. Unless he can ask a sighted person to examine, right? Yeah, you do with the fingers. Check it. Yeah, the stringency is probably based upon the fact that the Achronim ruled that the blind man, right, since he recites the blessing of the Talit, according to the Lev Chaim, a blind man should not recite the blessing. If so, there should not be any obligation to examine the tzitzit as long as it's known that they were kosher. The rule is, in fact, that if someone asks a person to recite the bracha on his behalf and he discovers that tzitzit are not kosher, he's making bracha al-batalah. Therefore, before making the bracha, he should examine the tzitzit.